The cage door slams shut. The crowd roars. In the heart of Chicago's United Center, a new king is about to be crowned. On August 16, 2025, Khamzat Chimaev, the undefeated force of nature, stepped into the octagon at UFC 319 and delivered a masterclass of domination, ragdolling middleweight champion Dricus Du Plessis for 25 relentless minutes. When the dust settled, the Chechen warrior walked away with the 185-pound title, ushering in a new era. This is the story of a fight that redefined the middleweight division, a champion's fall and a predator's rise to UFC gold. The stage was set. UFC 319 live from Chicago was a powder keg of anticipation. The United Center pulsed with energy as fans packed the arena, eager for a main event that promised violence. Dricus Du Plessis, the South African champion, stood tall with an unblemished UFC record, his unorthodox style and gritty heart carrying him to the top. Across from him, Khamzat Chimaev, the unbeaten phenom, a man whose name sent shivers through the division. This wasn't just a fight. It was a collision of destinies, a battle to define the future of 185 pounds. The middleweight division has always been a proving ground for warriors, from Anderson Silva's reign of terror to Chris Weidman's seismic upset, from Robert Whittaker's resilience to Israel Adesanya's artistry. It's a weight class where legacies are forged in blood and sweat. Now Chimaev and Du Plessis stood ready to etch their names into that storied history. Khamzat Chimaev's journey to UFC 319 is the stuff of legend. Bursting onto the scene in 2020, he tore through the UFC with a ferocity rarely seen. 2 fights in 10 days on Fight Island, 2 dominant finishes. His 2022 decision over Gilbert Burns proved he could go the distance against elite competition. A year later, he submitted former welterweight king Kamaru Usman, and in October 2024, he broke Robert Whittaker's jaw with a first-round face crank. But illness and visa issues slowed his march, delaying his title shot until this moment. At 31, Chimaev entered UFC 319 with a perfect 15-0 record, 12 finishes, and a reputation as the scariest prospect in MMA. His wrestling, honed in the gyms of Chechnya and Sweden, was suffocating. His striking, while not flashy, was brutal. Fans called him Boers, the Wolf, and he hunted like one. Dricus Du Plessis, also 31, was no stranger to defying odds. The Praetorian native captured the middleweight title in January 2024 with a split decision upset over Sean Strickland at UFC 297. He defended it twice, a submission of Israel Adesanya at UFC 305 and a unanimous decision rematch against Strickland in UFC 312. Undefeated in the UFC, Du Plessis was a puzzle. Awkward angles, relentless pressure, and a knack for finishing fights. His confidence was unshakable, telling his corner before each round, "I feel great." But against Chimaev, that confidence would be tested like never before. If you're watching this and haven't subscribed to MMA Arena yet, hit that button now. We're diving deep into the stories that shape the fight game, raw, unfiltered, and straight from the cage. The opening bell rang and Khamzat wasted no time. 10 seconds in, he shot for a takedown, planting Du Plessis on the canvas with a thud. The Chicago crowd roared, sensing the intensity. Du Plessis scrambled, hunting for a guillotine choke, but Chimaev rolled through, landing inside control. From there, he unleashed his signature weapon, the Crucifix. Trapping Du Plessis' arms, he rained down short punches, 50 in the first round alone. They weren't fight-ending bombs, but they were relentless, a message of control. Du Plessis, pinned and helpless, could only survive. The round ended with Chimaev in caudal command, the scorecards already tilting heavily in his favor. Round 2 was a carbon copy. Chimaev's wrestling was a vice, suffocating Du Plessis with takedowns and back control. The champion's movement, usually so unpredictable, was nullified. Fans in the United Center began to boo, frustrated by the one-sided affair. Du Plessis, the man who never lost in the UFC, was being dismantled. Chimaev's pressure was unyielding, his grip like iron. He dragged Du Plessis down repeatedly, landing knees to the thighs and hunting for submissions. The South African's corner urged him to stay calm, but the crowd's discontent grew. This wasn't the war they had expected. It was a clinic. The third round opened with a glimmer of hope for Du Plessis. He stuffed an early takedown attempt, but Chimaev adjusted, slamming him to the mat with a thunderous double leg. Back inside control, Chimaev locked in another crucifix. This time he mixed in elbows, opening a cut above Du Plessis' left eye. Blood trickled, a visible sign of Chimaev's dominance. The champion fought to break free, his resilience shining through, but Chimaev was relentless, nearly sinking a rear-naked choke as the round closed. Social media buzzed with awe and frustration. One fan told this one hard to watch, and another lamented, "DDP has a miracle." By the round 4, the pattern was clear. Du Plessis, battered but unbowed, tried to stand his ground. He defended a takedown briefly, earning a cheer from the crowd, but Chimaev's chain wrestling was too much. Along the cage, he hung on Du Plessis like a shadow, dragging him back to the canvas. Referee Mark Goddard, sensing a lull, stood the fighters up, a rare intervention. Chimaev's response, another takedown, another crucifix, more punishment. Du Plessis' spirit remained, but his body was failing him. The scorecards were lopsided, with some analysts calling for a 10-8 round. Chimaev's control time was staggering, 21 minutes and 40 seconds by one report. The 5th round offered a flicker of drama. Du Plessis, bloodied and exhausted, came out swinging, landing a flurry of strikes that forced Chimaev to cover up. For a moment, the champion looked alive, but Chimaev absorbed the onslaught, shot for another takedown, and reasserted control. Du Plessis, digging deep, reversed position late, taking Chimaev's back and hunting for a rear-naked choke with 25 seconds left. The crowd erupted, sensing a miracle, but time ran out. The choke wasn't tight enough, and Chimaev survived. The final bell rang, and the judge's verdict was unanimous, 50-44 across the board for Khamzat Chimaev, the new UFC middleweight champion. The numbers tell a brutal story. Chimaev landed 529 significant strikes to Du Plessis' 45. He completed 12 of 13 takedowns, a masterclass in grappling. The Du Plessis, the spirited champion, never quit, but he was outclassed. His title reign, which began with a hard-fought win over Sean Strickland, then a submission of Adesanya, ended in Chicago cage under Chimaev's suffocating pressure. Fans took to social media, one calling it the most one-sided title fight since GSP Hardy. Another wrote, DDP's heart is unreal, but Khamzat is a nightmare. Media outlets hailed Chimaev's performance, with one headline declaring, Boers ushers in a new era at 185. The middleweight division is no stranger to seismic shifts. Anderson Silva's 10-year reign set an untouchable standard with knockouts at Franklin and Vitor Belfort. Weidman's 2013 upset opened the door for new blood. Whitaker's grit and Adesanya's precision kept the division electric. Du Plessis, with his awkward striking and relentless grappling, was a worthy champion, but Chimaev's arrival feels different. He's a predator, a force that could dominate for years. The division now recalibrates. Strickland, Adesanya, and Whitaker lurk, eager for a shot at the new king. Rising stars like Sharamagamanov and Caio Bravo wait in the wings. Chimaev's wrestling heavy style raises questions. Who can stop him? Can anyone solve the puzzle of his ground game? Let's break down the fight tactically. Chimaev's game plan was surgical. His takedowns, often initiated with a low single leg or a body lock, were lightning fast, exploiting Du Plessis' upright stance. The Crucifix was his trump card, neutralizing Du Plessis' arms and allowing a barrage of short punches and elbows. Round 1 set the tone, a takedown in 10 seconds, followed by 4 minutes of control. Du Plessis' strength, his scrambling and submission hunting, was nullified by Chimaev's top pressure. The champion's best moment, a late rear-naked choke attempt in round 5, showed his heart but lacked the time to finish. Chimaev's cardio, once a question mark, held up over 5 rounds, proving he's not just a fast starter, but a championship-level machine. Du Plessis' performance, while a loss, wasn't without merit. His ability to survive 21 minutes of ground control is a testament to his durability. His striking, when he could let it fly, showed flashes of the chaos that felled Adesanya, but against Chimaev, survival was his only victory. The South African's corner kept him focused, urging him to stay in the fight, but the gap in wrestling was insurmountable. Du Plessis' 45 significant strikes landed, a career low, underscored the suffocation he endured. Chimaev's rise was not without hurdles. Illness sidelined him for months in 2021, forcing a brief retirement scare. Visa issues limited his fight schedule, frustrating fans eager to see him climb the ranks. But his resume speaks volumes. Finishes over Whitaker, Usman, and Kevin Holland, plus a war with Burns. At UFC 319, he answered every question about his stamina, his heart, and his place among the elite.
The Chechen-born UAE-based fighter is now the man to beat, a champion whose dominance feels both inevitable and terrifying. The undercard added to the night's drama, 2 spinning back elbow knockouts, Leroy Murphy flattening Aaron Pico and Carlos Prates stopping Jeff Neal, marked a historic moment, the 9th and 10th such finishes in UFC history. The crowd was electric, the energy palpable, but all eyes were on the main event, where Chimaev's performance rewrote the narrative. Social media buzzed with praise, one fan calling it a wrestling clinic for the ages. Another noted, DDP never gave up, but Khamzat is a nightmare. The aftermath is a turning point. For Chimaev, the title is a coronation, but also a target. The middleweight division is a shark tank and contenders are circling. Adesanya, with his striking wizardry, could pose a stylistic challenge. Strickland's pressure and cardio might test Chimaev's gas tank. Whitaker, the former champion, has the experience to hang. Du Plessis, the loss is a setback, but not the end. At 31, with a 23-3 record, he's still a top-tier threat. A rematch with Strickland or a clash with a rising star could put him back in contention. His art, shown in that final round reversal, ensures he'll return. The UFC's matchmaking politics add intrigue. Dana White is long champion Chimaev